Hey friend, do you struggle with controlling or perfectionism behavior? Then stay tuned and I'm going to teach you 3 ways you can begin to nip that in the butt right now. Before we dive in, let me ask, are you somebody who is committed to doing the inner work to live your most joyful life? I suspected so. You wouldn't be on my channel if you weren't. That means you are a rebel for joy, and I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Mark the little bell so you never miss a beat, because we drop new personal development videos on you each and every week to help support you in all the ways. It probably doesn't come as any surprise to you that controlling and perfectionism have a deep root in anxiety and fear. But that's truthfully where these behaviors come from. It is important to have standards. It is important for us to achieve for greatness and to do our best and really uphold people to a higher standard as well, but not at the detriment of their happiness or yours. So if this is something that you battle with, then I want you to stay tuned, because I guarantee you that these behaviors are sabotaging your relationships and or your success. My name is Bonnie Kelly, and I am a self-sabotage expert. And controlling and perfectionism is one of the components that is how we practice self-sabotage. I have helped tens of thousands of people just like you nip this in the butt. Like, self-sabotage does not have to be a thing that controls all of us, but it is something that requires our input to be able to shift into change. So I want to make sure that if this is something that you struggle with, that you really recognize that it's deeply rooted in fear and anxiety, that there isn't something wrong with you, that you're not a bad person. And I want you to also step out of the very arrogant stance. I know that was rough to hear, that we can all get ourselves rooted into when we want to adhere and have everyone adhere to these certain standards. I want you to recognize how much that is robbing other people of joy as well. There is no such thing as perfection. It's okay to want to master a skill and master a trade and doing your best, but there's no such thing as perfection. And when we can loosen our grip on this to really get to the root, it's going to be a lot easier. And that's what my 3 things are going to help you with today. So let's dive into the first one, which is number 1, identify where the need to control or the need for things to be perfect comes from. As I mentioned, it is deeply rooted in fear and anxiety, but we need to really understand what that means for you. Like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of looking stupid? Are you afraid of failing? Are you afraid that you're not going to be enough? Are you afraid of not being loved? Are you afraid that the standards are going to get to a point that is going to catapult you back to your childhood or what you know and experienced in the past? Understanding what is behind this behavior is exactly your responsibility. It is what you need to be able to break this cycle. Because I guarantee you that having this controlling behavior isn't fun for you and isn't fun for anyone else. It creates so much tension and so much stress and so much pressure that often if you're on a team, your team members are going to want to quit. If it's in your family dynamic, it's going to create a lot of conflict and controversy between you and your spouse and your children. It is so important that we pull back the reins a little bit and check ourselves, because a lot of that behavior is fueled by feelings. And when we can shift those feelings, we can change the behavior. So that's the very first place for us to start, is to know why. Know your why of why you are behaving this way, so we can have the information we need to make the change. All right, so this one's going to be, number 2, is going to be a little bit of a challenging. I'm going to challenge you to intentionally let something go unfinished or flawed. Now, brace yourself, okay? I want you to be prepared for this experiment. This is a mental experiment for what's going to come up. You're probably going to have a lot of anxiety, the compulsion to want to fix it or to change it. You're going to have a lot of feelings that you're going to want to cope with. This is where exercises like tapping or NLP techniques or meditation or hypnotherapy, a lot of these things can begin to help us with the emotions that are coming up. So make sure to do a search here on YouTube to find out different ways that you'd be able to mitigate and manage that anxiety as it comes up. But I really want you to think about something that you can allow to just be messy. Just allow it. One of my favorite with my students is that if your kid comes home with a project and they need to do it, and you tend to over control that experience to make sure that they turn that assignment in and it is well polished and pristine, that they're not actually getting the opportunity to fail. They're not getting the opportunity to do it themselves because we are in such a controlling dynamic that we took over that project. This would be a great place to start to allow them to do it and to get messy with it. Now, if you've got a habit of like always have taken it on, they might not have a lot of confidence around this, and they might actually not want to do it or have a emotional breakdown around it because they're like, I don't understand. Like, no, it's not going to be good enough. Mom always does it because mine is never enough. I know you never would want your children to feel that way about themselves, but that's often the repercussions of having controlling and perfectionism as a standard in your household. Is that your children or your spouse often feels that they're not enough. So I really want you to look at what is the underlying cause of this, like what we said before, and start practicing allowing things to get a little messy. Start to allow something that doesn't matter that much to go through the process of not being perfect, and then prepare yourself for the emotions that could arise so that you can cope responsibly. Okay, so that's my big challenge, which is number 2. Now, I would love to hear your comments on this. Put a comment below and tell me, what do you think about this one? Is this something that you can start practice, or what emotions are coming up for you just even thinking about it? Let's have a conversation in the chat box now about that before we dive into the third. Okay, so this last one is going to be specifically for your home dynamic, your parenting dynamic, or if you're in a leadership dynamic, this is where I want you to begin to shift. Often when you're working on a project or you assign a project or you have something to do in the household, is that when you have that need to want to control it, you have expectations that are set 5 miles high, or you just have that compulsion that it needs to be perfect, then I want you to shift away from looking at all of the imperfections and flaws of things and start to look at where you can appreciate what is right or good about it. Now, this dynamic, it takes just a mental shift into saying like, okay, I'm focusing on all the areas that it's flawed, all the things that are wrong with this, and I'm not even acknowledging what has been done right, what has been done well. And so if you really want to have a lasting relationship with your team or your family or your spouse, it is so important that we shift out of this behavior, because I guarantee you it is sabotaging that closeness that you desire underneath all of this anxiety and this fear. So I really want you to shift to that appreciation. Find ways that you can say, you know what, you really have gotten very good at those straight lines. Those straight lines are just done really well, or your stitching is really great, or, this is awesome. Like, you didn't burn it. That's fantastic, right? Whatever you can do to shift to appreciation where it's not condescending, it's not going to be anchored in like you still didn't do it right, rather into really truly being appreciative that your partner is showing up and helping, that they're trying, that they're doing their best, and that could help alleviate some of that stress. All right, so if this is a behavior that you are really ready to end and to shift and to change, then I invite you to download my free self-sabotage worksheet. You guys, this is designed to help you kind of get out of that cycle, and it helps you identify the beliefs, thoughts, and feelings that are motivating the behavior. Just like I mentioned in number 1, where we get to the root. That's what this exercise is designed to do, and it's helping hundreds of people, and it's yours free. I just want you to download it. It's the first link that will be available below for you. And if you are ready to join a community of people all committed to doing the inner work, then I invite you to join me over on Facebook. Find the Rebels for Joy Facebook community. I am there to support you in all the ways in having real life conversations. We have coaching with coffee. We've got all kinds of amazing things that are here to support you in living your best life. It's one click away. Check it out. Links are below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch more videos on how you can end the cycle of self-sabotage, then take a look at these right here, available for you now. We've got an entire playlist. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a beat, and I will see you on the next video.